Join us as we follow the moon. Today, I'm making one of my favorite dishes I've made ever since my kids were really little, and it's called chicken and dumplings. And everybody's got a different take on what those dumplings are, so today I'm just going to show you how I do mine. The first thing that we're going to do is decide on the chicken. Now, I have chosen chicken thighs and chicken legs together. I guess they call them chicken leg quarters. Now, in the past, I always used whole chickens, and of course, there's going to be some deboning involved. And so today, I'm just using the leg quarters because, in my opinion, the dark meat has the best flavor. It puts out the best flavor into your broth. You can use canned chicken, you can also use rotisserie chicken, but the rotisserie chicken is cooked with a lot of salt, and if you're watching that in your diet, you kind of want to go ahead and do your own thing here with the raw chicken. So the first thing is the chicken is going to have to be boiled. Now, I have already put water in the pan, and I'm setting it on my induction cooktop. And we always want to be very careful when you're doing chicken that you don't contaminate surfaces. So I'm going to try and actually touch this as little as I have to. You don't have to wash chicken because that throws the bacteria of the chicken, E. coli and all that around your kitchen. So they suggest you just open it up and use it. So that's what we're going to do. And by the way, I did wash my hands before I got started. So we have 4 nice leg quarters, so this is going to make a lot. Or I guess it's 3.5. Okay, and we've got a little bit of back attached to this one, and that's always good for flavor as well. I'm just going to lay theirs in, and I got 1 extra drumstick. These are my favorite. I'm just going to rewrap the bag around the whole thing here so that it has touched barely anything in my kitchen. You'll also want to be sure that you take that out. The longer it sits in there, the more it's going to smell. Okay. While I've got the chicken in there, I'm going to go ahead and put in, this is called Silly Salt. It's Paula Deen's. She's not paying me to talk about that, but it is one of the best ones you can get out there. And it's basically various herbs and spices along with some sea salt. And I'm just going to put some in on top of that so that will flavor in the water while it's being cooked. Now I turn on my power on here, and then I've got this up to about 390. I may put it on 420 to start and bring it back down once it's gotten to a boil. And so that's basically what we're doing, is we are boiling the chicken parts so that we can debone them here in a bit. Now, while that's boiling, I'm going to go ahead and cut up potatoes. I like potatoes in my soup, and again, this is a soup that can be used either as a soup. It can be used if you make it thick, less broth, that you can put it in chicken pot pie. And then what we're doing today is we're going to make dumplings from, I don't have my stuff out yet, but we're going to make dumplings, and we're going to put them in on top, and they will cook so they won't be quite as, they won't have the crust of a pie. So the potatoes I'm using these are baby potatoes, and they're a nice size. So that's what we're going to do. Looks like I'm going to go ahead and use the whole bag. It's 240 ounces. I'll let you figure out how many pounds that is. Okay. Now these, they say they've washed 3 times, so I'm basically, they're ready to go ahead and cut and use. I'm not going to peel them because a lot of your vitamins are in the peeling, and so we don't want to just throw that away. I'm looking them over, they all look very clean. And you kind of want to cut these down to about bite size. You don't want them too small because you don't want them cooking down into a mush, but you want them to be a nice size that can go on your spoon or fork. All right, we're at a point. Here, I'll turn that off so that we can hear better. I use the vent to keep the moisture out of the inside so that it doesn't mess with the wood. Now we have cooked, it took about 10 minutes to bring this up to a boil, and it has boiled for about 45 minutes, and the meat is starting to fall off of the bone. So that's how I judge. I cook by look. There we go. If you do want to save time, you can go back to that rotisserie chicken. I just like the broth that I get off of the fresh meat. Just one. I also try to pull this just at a point where it's starting to fall off the bone and not when the bone is starting to disintegrate. It makes it easier to make sure I'm not going to have any little surprises in the soup. These are some healthy chicken thighs, chicken quarters. There we go. One last drumstick. Now this meat is going to be very hot. So I'm going to let it cool for a second. Back there. My broth is still boiling. I'm going to go ahead and put in, I did cut up my potatoes, small chunks. Be careful when you put them in there, they don't splatter on you. I use cooking stock, and I prefer this to bouillon cubes. I used to use the bouillon cubes, but this just adds a little bit more liquid to the broth as that has boiled off quite a bit. I'll just go ahead and add the whole box. That will have cooled it down a little bit so we don't shock the pan. Here goes my vegetables. And we happen to have a little bit of chopped onions from when we were doing some chili the other night. So I'm just going to throw the last of that in there so that we get to use it. It'll just be a little extra flavor. Put a little bit of garlic powder. And I'll put the lid back on, and I'm going to turn it up a little bit. I had brought it down to 360. Once it gets to boiling, you don't really need a hard, fast boil unless you're trying to boil the liquid off to make a little bit more condensed broth in there. But I had turned it down a little bit to about 360 just to let that simmer a while so that the bones would come loose from the skin or the flesh of the meat. So I'm going to bring this back up to about 390. Let's go 420. We're going to let it really come to a boil. Keep an eye on it so that it doesn't start over boiling. and it'll simmer once we get it to that point. So at this point, I'm going to be taking the chicken and chopping it up into pieces while this the soup part cooks. All right, a little bit of a task, but it is done. And this is what the chicken looks like once I've gotten it off the bone. And it was just so simple. Now I've lowered the temperature to 240 so that my I could go ahead and drop in the chicken. And then the final step is going to be to go ahead and do the dumplings. You always want to drop this in against the side so that you don't splatter it onto your wrist. And that's all we do there. I'm just going to stir it up a little bit. Grab a potato out. See how done that is. Oh yeah, they're done. So everything is ready for the dumplings. This is a great one-pot meal. Let's see if I can figure out how to use that. Now I use Bisquick. It's just what I've used all along. And they don't put all the recipes on here like they used to, but you can look them up on Bisquick.com, and it came right up. It said to use, and I'm one that I will just kind of do the pancake thing where I'll put in the powdered stuff, and then I'll put in the liquid, and then I'll go back and forth trying to adjust. But this actually says in the recipe to use 2 cups of the mix and 2/3 cup of milk. So that's what we're going to do. It also says that in some elevations that you might want to use one or the other. You might want to adjust it. So you want to check that yourself and see what works best for you. Now along with this, since it's just basically a thin biscuit mix, I will go ahead and put in a little bit more of my seasoned salt. And you can do whatever you want. You can either use just salt, you could use garlic, you could put cheese, or you could do whatever you want in them. Mix it up. It isn't going to be a batter, it's actually going to be more of a soft dough is what you're looking for. When utensils fail, fingers work. And just a regular tablespoon. This is what the dough looks like. And we're just going to take a spoonful at a time and drop it in. And again, you want to drop these things where you're not going to get splattered on. So I'll start around the edges. I'm also going to bring this up a little bit. You do want that to boil a little bit. Just more of a simmer. And I do very generous sized ones because I like them. Once I've dropped them around the edges, then I'll go ahead and start dropping them towards the middle. Now these are actually cooked a little bit backwards from what when I was young, I thought they should be cooked. You're actually going to let these cook for about 10 minutes with the lid off. And then once you've gotten them through the 10 minutes off, you put the lid on and cook another 10 minutes. Every bit of this good stuff. All right, so now we've got 10 minutes. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it with the lid off, and we'll look at it then again in 10 more minutes, and we'll put the lid on for 10 minutes after that, okay? All right, this is what they look like after the first 10 minutes. You'll notice that they have puffed up. The dampness on the top is pretty much gone, and we're ready to go ahead and cover it. All right, we are done. This is what it looks like after the 10 minutes of cooking with the lid on. Notice it's moist, but it's completely cooked all the way through, and that's the way the dumplings are supposed to be. Now all that's left is to serve myself up some. You might want to use a ladle. One of the things I like about this is it leaves a lot of soup left over, and you can go back in, reheat the soupy part, and make some more dumplings if there's lots of leftovers. And there it is. Now, it's going to be too hot for me to eat right this second, so I'm going to set it down. But I want to thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so by ringing the bell. And also, we just want to thank you for following us as we follow the moon.
Thanks for watching today.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel.
And be sure to ring the notification bell so you'll know when new videos come out.
Don't forget to follow us on social media too.